So here we are. I'm here with somebody that I met uh, quite a while back, Brandon. And man, what a great encounter. You were there. I was teaching a seminar in Alabama at Triad with Daniel O'Brien and Johnny Smith, and I saw you there. And you were there, like doing everything, doing all the drills, asking all the questions. I didn't get to know much of you until after I left. You know, And then I said, man, this nice guy, very nice. Man, he does the work. You're not like the guy that stays on the sideline. You're engaged. I see your videos. You're always doing the drills. I see the pool of sweat around you and your partner. That means you're not just posing. Man, that's amazing. It's very inspiring too to see that kind of thing. But the reason of this conversation, I want to bring you up to speed to everybody else. I want people to know why I connected with you, and I wanted to have you doing this joint effort with me at the upcoming winter camp on the first weekend of February here in my academy in Carrollton, Texas. And I was very thankful first for the fact that I contacted you, and without delay, you got back to me, and then we confirmed the schedule was all right, and you jumped on board without hesitation. You're very easy to work with, amazing, and I'm very honored and pleased that you took the chance and you are gonna show some stuff that I'm very eager to learn, all the 10th Planet concepts, and I'm sure that people will have a lot more questions. So be ready. They're not gonna leave you alone when you're there, and I'm gonna be a student. So if I bug you, please forgive me because I'll try to pick your brains in an honest way because I'm here to learn, and there are quite a few things that I've seen you do that are quite original, innovative, and I want to be brought up to speed on those. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Man, I just feel honored that you even invited me, to be honest with you. So you're not going to remember this, but uh this was 2006, had to be like January or February of 2006. You came and taught a seminar. I can't remember if we were at Webster's or if we were at Triad, but you came and taught a seminar, and I had only been training martial arts maybe like a month or two at this time. So
Are you serious?
you were the first ever jiu-jitsu seminar that I went to. And I learned an omoplata in the gi that day. And the omoplata was the first move that was like oh, this is the move that I do to everybody. It was the first move that I got obsessed with. And then I used to have your Infinite Jiu-Jitsu set back in the day, and the Unstoppable hook flip. So I got all the Carlos Machado.
Are you serious? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That is crazy, Brandon. I had no idea. So,
Yeah.
man, for everybody listening out there, you guys have no idea when you're in a room who you're about to meet. I'm surprised, Brandon, because being a month old in jiu-jitsu and years pass by and I see you now, I said, man, what an amazing testimonial of dedication because you are a master on your own right in terms
Wow.
of your proficiency. And I really enjoy your articulation. You're very easy to speak to, but you're also very nice the way you break things down. And
Thank
just to know that I was responsible for your first jiu-jitsu submission infatuation, the omoplata. Hey, let's do it, man. Now you're gonna have to get me going with the gogo plata next. You
you.
hear me?
Okay.
We're gonna
It's
work on
okay.
that. All right, so that's great memory. Okay, so I met you there, a month old, and at that time you're training, I guess, right? You're not yet. When did you start teaching?
I started teaching when I was a blue belt. So I started in martial arts under Jamie Webster,
Hmm.
and Jamie's Tung Soo Do coach. I think you know Jamie. You've met Jamie several
Hmm.
times through
Yes, yes,
through Triad School. Johnny. I was
yeah.
trying to call his name Johnny. And Jamie is who I got my black belt in Tung Soo Do from.
Wow.
But Jamie, as you know, loves jujitsu as well. And so
Yes.
he would have us grapple several times a week, even though it wasn't part of the Tung Soo Do curriculum. And that was the part of martial arts that I just got obsessed with. So I went to a seminar, probably 6 months after that first seminar with you. Eddie Bravo was teaching about 2 hours from my house, and he was teaching
Wow.
all weekend. And so this was back, he did 6 hour, he did two 6 hour seminars that weekend.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so
That's
I went to that, and I was like, man, I gotta learn everything I can. So I just started really early on. I would fly out to Los Angeles and learn. I'd train with Eddie for a week or two and then fly back and train there at Webster's, and I'd fly out and learn and fly back and train. And I was
that's
trying to
amazing.
compete as much as I could. And so that
Wow.
was that was how I got started with jujitsu. But then I got my blue belt after 4 years of that process. I got my blue belt in 2010 in February. And then I started teaching grappling classes at Webster's at that time. And then it
Okay.
eventually just, it was just like as a, having extra classes on the roll at the karate school, just
Yeah.
work on grappling extra. And then that eventually just over time rolled into I strangle people for a living.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So tell me a bit about your. I always like the history behind the scenes, in a positive light. Uh, how was your upbringing with Eddie Bravo in your martial arts journey? Because I say once you saw him after those 12 hours, the 2 6 hour days, you said, man, I gotta get this. It's kind of like you met someone that really struck you, and then you take the time and make the effort. Because I had a similar experience when I came to Texas. I had people from out of town or out of state that would take the time to come to Texas. And Johnny Smith was one of them because
Oh yeah.
he used to be a Hickson Gracie student, and Hickson told him, man, my cousin is halfway. He's in Dallas. You go ahead and go there. It's going to cut your time short. And that's kind of like how I started my lineage over there on that part of the country. But tell me about it. Tell me about the Eddie Bravo part, if you can give
Yeah.
me some scoop.
In the beginning, it- I would just show up and I was a nobody. I would just go over there and get my butt kicked. And I would go to I would almost like go through training camp just to go do my trips over there because I knew I was going to get my butt kicked so bad. And
Hmm.
um, I got to the point where by the time I was a blue belt, if Eddie, and at that time especially, Eddie was very popular. He was teaching seminars all over the country. He was teaching somewhere every weekend almost. And so I just
Hmm.
made a rule for myself. I said, I'm going to either compete or I'm going to go train. I'm going to drive and go train with Eddie every weekend. And so
Wow.
my rule was if he was within 10 hours, I was going to go train with him. And so I would do a
Wow.
10-hour drive or I would find a local competition. And I did that for years and years. And Eddie's just always been really good to me, man. Like even when there
Wow.
was, even when I wasn't really showing that much potential, he
Hmm.
always was so generous with his time and just always went out of his way to make me feel like that he was thankful that I wanted to learn from him. And
Hmm.
we just over the years developed a really strong friendship. And then eventually I got my black belt and then my stripe and my second stripe. And so now
That is
I'm
awesome.
working towards my third one. So I'll have that here no time at all.
There you go. So, uh, when did you get your black belt? What year was that?
That was January 2016.
2016, huh? So 8 years ago, approximately, right? We're in 2024. Was that in California at his academy
No,
up
I
there?
got I got most of my belts on the road chasing him around for those seminars. So I got my blue belt in Sherman, Texas. Got my blue belt in
You're
Sherman, Texas. Got my purple belt at home in Decatur. Got my brown belt on the road. Got my black belt on the road.
wow, that is amazing, man. That's amazing. And so tell me a bit about your evolution as a coach, because you told me a bit about how you started. You were in a taekwondo school and you started to do the grappling because the instructor liked jiu-jitsu. Then all of a sudden you started teaching grappling, right? And then you had Eddie Bravo's seminar, and from that point on, I said, "Man, I'm in." Blue belt, doing tournaments. Then you kept going to California or traveling to every seminar you had an opportunity. But you've been teaching since you were a blue belt. And that's
Yeah.
one thing here that's interesting, Brandon. We all start from somewhere. I remember I became an assistant instructor when I was a blue belt. I was like literally, and my evolution was ever since, you know, that's what I have done all my life. Uh, Tell me a bit about your time as an instructor and what kind of shifts you may have had from the beginning stages up to the transition that you are now, and then also on top of that, I know you have other things that we're going to talk about in a little later, like your commitments to the commentary and the different grappling shows and things like that. Give me a little scoop on your jiu-jitsu journey as an instructor.
Well, in the beginning, when I'm a blue belt, there's really nobody that has a high skill set that's coming to learn from a blue belt. And there were also important to remember, there were no other jujitsu schools in my surrounding area at that time.
Okay.
And so, it's not like they would have been choosing to come to my classes over a black belt. It's like, hey, if you want to learn, you got this redneck blue belt, this is your best option, you know. But honestly, I wasn't very talented athletically in the beginning. My wife and I started training on the same day. And so
Wow.
she's a phenomenal athlete. And so she's always been a lot
Wow.
more talented than me as far as jujitsu
Uh-huh.
goes. But in a lot of ways, I feel like that was really an advantage for me because I had to spend a lot more time trying to understand the mental side of the game and like try to learn every little technical detail that I could, and then eventually try to move past the technical and into a place of like philosophy where it's like one move is 10,000 moves, 10,000 moves is one move. And but then
Yes.
once you get there, you have to find a way to break that down and give that complex information back to a beginning student. And so most of uh most of what I take pride in as a coach is being able to simplify something that I feel like is really complex and meaningful. And as my dad would say, you got to put it down there where the chickens can get after it. And so I like to just be able to take the little bits and sit it on the ground so that you can just reach down and pick it up very easily. So that's what I spend most of my time focusing on as a coach. It's being able to just give relatable information. But I do feel like that because I wasn't a really talented athlete, that I had to learn jujitsu in a different way than a really talented person would. And so it took me a long time to kind of get the hang of jujitsu. But over the years, I feel like that's paid off. And now I can learn like I feel like I learn way faster than my peers because of
Hmm.
that. And I thank my lack of athleticism for that gift.
Right. So something that you considered, I want to say a handicap, but a limitation in the beginning served you well, not because you couldn't learn, but the way you were learning took longer. But once you got it, you got it,
Yeah, now
right?
I feel like I can
And
learn faster.
yeah, so that's what I like about jiu-jitsu too. I guess you have to build a foundation from somewhere, or if you compare it to like a puzzle, you get the color first, get the shape next, and then you start to put the pieces together, group them together. And I can see you doing that the way you teach. I do like your approach about translating the language of jiu-jitsu in a simpler way, in a more simple way. So, because a lot of times when you're dealing with students, I don't know how easy somebody's going to learn a technique, but if you break it down in small pieces, anybody can learn. And I used a similar approach, by the way. I like that. Okay, so how do you see yourself? Because I will tell you my thing here. I I guess throughout our journey as instructors, we develop a strong relationship with some of our students who stay with us for a long period of time. How many people you have, it becomes kind of part of your family, right?
For
And
sure.
how much of an influence you have, not just on the mats, but off the mats. How do you see yourself as a mentor? What kind of impact you feel? Because based upon what I have experienced, I can say I've been a positive influence in most people that I met, and I know that you have done the same because what we do is a gift that we get. and it's a gift that we share. So, how do you see yourself as a mentor, or do you also position yourself, from what I understood, what you're saying, that you also go beyond just the mats?
Yeah, I feel like that's really important. Um, so the most important thing that I think that I do as a coach is just provide a really great culture and environment here at the gym. Like we're not really
Hmm.
focused on trying to grow the gym. I have enough students. I have other things that I do to go make money. I want to have the best culture in gym that's possible. And so I remember I got this quote from a guy named Peter Drucker one time.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think he was like the CEO of Ford or Chevy,
Yeah,
GMC, one of those
yeah,
car manufacturers. But the quote is this: culture eats strategy for breakfast. So you can have the best strategy in the world, but if nobody wants to be around, they're not going to execute on the strategy. But
sure.
in my gym or in any gym, if you create an environment where people are happy to be there and when they feel good when they leave and they feel benefits when they leave, then it almost doesn't matter what your teaching philosophy is because the one ingredient that everybody has to have to make them good at jujitsu is that they got to do it for a long time, right?
Hmm.
And if I can create a culture that makes you want to come, like makes you miss it when you're not there, and makes you feel happy when you are there, then you're gonna automatically just keep showing up. And to me, that's the most important thing that I do as a coach for sure.
That is
Almost,
awesome. I
almost I would
share.
say
Yeah,
one of the most important things I do as a man. I think my my wife, my role as a husband and my role as a dad, those are the most important things I do as a man. My second most important thing is I build great culture where people can come and be themselves and make improvements to themselves.
I agree. I agree 100%. I have a belief that I call the Brazilian soap opera formula. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, when you have a culture, it's like you're watching a series, that's very inspiring and very enticing for you to keep on watching. So the way they do in Brazil, so you know the extent of how that worked. At 8 p.m. in Brazil, I think even until today, people make their plans for the evening based upon what time is the prime time for the main soap opera. They either make their meetings before or after the schedule. And what I'm saying is, they always play out, and this is common when you watch different series. Whenever you're at the end of an episode, you see glimpses of what's coming next, and oh my gosh, I can't wait for that. You feel like you have a pump already from the episode that you just watched, but when you see the glimpse of what's coming next, you're not gonna miss the next time. So I feel, and I can tell you this for a fact, everybody who you guide, who you train, they end happy and they can't wait for it to happen again. You know what I'm saying? And that's culture does that. You
Yes,
hit the
sir.
nail. Um, Tell me a bit about. I see your style of teaching. You like to break things down in detail. Uh, what's your approach when you're teaching here? Like, I mean, do you have a game plan usually, or you go with the flow, or you do a lot of brainstorming Q&A? It's an interaction between you and your students. You have a set script. What's your approach to
I
the way
wouldn't
you
call it
break down your?
so each individual, I break it down my curriculum here at the gym into 1 month periods. So like, let's
Okay.
say, for example, we're going to work on the deep half guard this month. All right, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to break it out into 8 separate classes. So I'm
Yep.
assuming that kind of the low hanging fruit student is only going to make it in twice in a week. He's going to make it in on
Yeah.
Tuesday and Thursday night. So I'm going to build the curriculum around the average student. So let's say
Yes.
the first week, the first class, what I do is I install a flow. So the flow is going to be the most essential movement in the like it's deep half guard. The most essential movement in the deep
Sure.
half guard that's also a little bit complex is going to require some repetition. And
Sure.
so we'll build a flow, and then the first class I install the flow. Everybody's got to rep that out. 25 times. And so once they get that on night number 1, every time they come back, nights 2 through 8, they're going to hit 25 repetitions on this flow. By the end of the month, they're going to
Yep.
have 25 reps. But they're just
Yep.
going to do that to open the class. The second
Hmm.
class, I begin to get into what I call the 80-20. So this is Pareto's principle, is that 20%
Yep.
of your action is going to yield 80% of your results,
Sure.
right? And so in the deep half guard, for example, I'm looking, what are the 2 moves that are going to yield me 80% of my sweeps off the deep half? I get into deep half, he leans his weight this way, I pop out the back door. I get into deep half, he sits his weight back on his hips, I turn over and come up for the over under. And so we're going to spend
Sure.
those next 2 classes on those 2 important moves, that 80-20. Next class, we're going
Hmm.
to next steps. And then the last week, we're going into defense against what we talked
Hmm.
about.
Yep.
So I structure
I
each month like that. And then within the class, I'm going to have a rough outline of what I want to get accomplished, but I'm also going to try to read the room if somebody's having trouble. I'm not going to keep moving just
Sure.
because it's on the script, you
Sure.
know.
Yep. I share a lot of a similar approach in regards to the flow, um, and then kind of build up. Everything has a plan of action. We don't start random. Every month, week 1, week 2. I also use the twice a week average. My motto is make the average above average.
Yeah.
So basically, if all you do is 2 times a week, I want to make sure that you get the most of it by the time the month is up. Uh, Love it. Okay, let's go back now. Talk a bit about your outings in different ventures. How did you become involved? The commentaries. I know you've done the combat jiu-jitsu. I've seen you there. I saw you not long ago on the UFC Fight Pass. Less than a month earlier. And I guess you had a few other ones. The ADCC. You're also a commentator. Are you coming for this coming ADCC in 2024 as well?
Yeah, looks like it. Looks like it.
That is awesome, man. So tell
Yeah.
me how that happened.
Well, I mean, that was just something that kind of like fell into my lap that I didn't really
Hmm.
have plans to do that, but I got asked to kind of fill in for somebody, and I enjoyed doing it. And so I got asked again. And so just with this small promotion, I started working my way, becoming more comfortable in front of the camera,
Hmm.
becoming more comfortable trying to relay my thoughts in real time, with pressure
Hmm.
on. Like that's a skill
Right.
set I didn't really have in the beginning, but I'm pretty comfortable in like those kind of high stress situations like that. I kind of like it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I started doing it, and then I just eventually I started getting called by Eddie to come and do the EBIs and the combat jujitsus, and
Hmm.
there other organizations started hiring me, and now I do color commentary for pretty much every major organization in the entire world of jujitsu. It's pretty wild.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, I get to
That's
travel all
amazing.
over the world. I just got back from Kazakhstan with AIGA. Uh, I think we're going to Brazil, Istanbul. We're going to Shanghai next year. Like it's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So would you elaborate? Because some of the people who are going to hear is, I know many are familiar with, but AIGA, that's the one that's the camp from Khabib, or is there anything to do with them?
No, they're not directly related. I think Khabib put a team in this last time, but
Oh, okay. Oh, I
AIGA
got you.
is a promotion in Kazakhstan, and it's a really nice promotion, man. It's cold out there though. It was negative 27 degrees when I went. It was snow piled up to my ears. But they
Oh
run a
my
great
gosh.
promotion. They pay the fighters well. They do a great production, very, very high level production, both the
Yep.
staging and the broadcast. They're on Flow Grappling. And then I
Okay.
also own the only jujitsu league in the world, which is the PGF, and we're gearing up for season 6 in April.
You said you own PGF?
That's right.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Can you elaborate a little bit about how that works, their venue, their circuits?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that
sure.
broadcast as well?
Yeah, that's free to watch. So we did the first 5 seasons on YouTube for free. It's a league, so it's a week long. So each athlete plays 12 times during the week, 6 minutes, submission only. If you win with a choke, you get 6 points. If you win with a joint lock, you get 3 points. Any submission under a minute gets an extra point. If it goes to a draw, you get 0. At the end of 12 matches, the top 8 athletes move into a bracket to find out who's the champion. And
Where are those matches happening? Like, is that something that they go internally on either school, they meet somewhere, or is that or have a venue? How does that work?
so the first 5 seasons, we did it here in Decatur, Alabama. We would just fly the athletes in, or they would drive in, and we'll house them for the entire week. But we just took on a new investor into the PGF, and so for season 6, actually everything's going to be in Las Vegas, and we've scaled the prize up
Wow.
dramatically. So we
That,
haven't announced everything yet, but I'll tell you when we get off of here what
yes,
some of the names that are involved and how much the money is, and I think you're gonna trip
yes,
out.
sir.
You're gonna be like, I got to get one of my 170 pounders in for season 6.
Let me ask you this. Was this a concept that you came up with? How did
Yes,
that come
sir.
about?
It was just something, I, like in wrestling, there's a wrestling season. A basketball, there's a basketball season. Football, you get used to competing every week, and it becomes a regular thing, and the nerves start to go away, and you learn the skill of competing. But in
Hmm.
jujitsu, we don't have anything like that. You know,
Yeah,
what we have is get excited about the world's coming up, and I train hard for 3 months, and then I
yeah,
go compete, and then it's over. And so you get this big build up and then let down and
yeah,
build up and let down. And because it's happening so infrequently, I felt like my students weren't getting the opportunity to build the skill of competing that I really wanted them to have. 'Cause I believe competing is a separate skill set from jujitsu. Not always the best jujitsu guy wins the competition,
sure.
you know. And so in
Well,
order to be great, you got to have both those skills. And so I wanted to do the PGF initially as a way for my students to get regular competition. And so the first season we were doing it once a week, every Friday night. But as it's grown and scaled, it's kind of outgrown that original that original idea, and it's become something
that is great, man.
really
When did
exciting.
that start? When did
Uh,
that start?
2020.
2010. So you're only barely 3 year old.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what, Brandon, you touched on something. That's why I think wrestlers are so tough. Because when they have wrestling season, they compete twice a week.
Hmm.
They have meets every, once or twice a week, besides their training regiment, which is unbelievable, and they're great competitors. No wonder even when they cross into MMA and everything, how well they adapt to the rule set. That's amazing. That's awesome. All right. Excuse me. I don't want to take too much of your time. We're gonna get a couple more things here. You don't mind on the winter camp that I attend your event, like I said, and ask you questions, not to put you on the spot, I promise you, but just to learn from you all these concepts and things that I'm so eager to grasp. You know what I'm saying? Uh, if you had to say something about what would you like to accomplish whenever you come here to Texas, when I see you, in a few weeks, what would you like? What would you like to accomplish? What would you like to see on people's faces once the class is over?
What I like to see on their faces, big smiles at the end. That's what I want the
Hmm.
most. But the
Hmm.
thing that I really want to make sure that I convey to everybody is that the 10th planet system is not a bunch of crazy moves. It's
Hmm.
a way of seeing the game. Like the 10th planet gospel is not the lockdown. The open mind is the 10th planet gospel. And so I want to
Hmm.
really like break the 10th planet craziness down into something manageable
Hmm.
for everybody who
Hmm.
doesn't normally do that kind of stuff. And so that's what interests me the most about the event.
That is awesome, Brandon. Listen, other than that, you have a wonderful wife that started jujitsu with you. And how many kids you got? You got two. Are they also training jujitsu?
My son doesn't train right now. He's 18. He's not training right
Okay.
now. My daughter's 15 and she's very, very into it. She's very good.
Awesome, man. Awesome. All right, man. I can't thank you enough. Now, what's happening for you next? Uh, after, I mean, between now and then? You said you have some trip coming up tomorrow. What do you
Yeah,
have going?
I'll be teaching in Asheville, North Carolina on Saturday at Rogue Combat Club. Then I'll be in Las Vegas from the 13th through the 17th, just getting preparation, laying the groundwork for the PGF that's coming up in April.
Mhm,
And then I know I got to go to Indiana in January. I was supposed to go to Abu Dhabi in January, but I just didn't have time. But ADXC
mhm.
contacted me about coming to do their event, but I just don't have time to make it happen. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean, it's a full schedule. It's something every weekend, all
Okay.
the
That's
time,
awesome.
12 months a year.
Great. Would you tell me about your website? Like
Sure.
is there like uh, a tutorial website? Is that you show your videos and you have a compilation and a database?
Yeah, I started filming my own training when I was a purple belt, just filming my own rolls so that I could go back and watch, like, okay, I'm making this mistake repeatedly, or oh, I'm doing this well, and I didn't even realize that I was doing that. And then I could give it some extra attention and try to develop something that I had a natural proclivity towards. So I started doing that when I was a purple belt. When I was a brown belt, um, I was like, man, I would like to open a site where I kind of just post these and talk over the top of them, you know. And so I started posting some kind of free YouTube videos and stuff at that time. And then when I got my black belt, I started putting up all of my classes. So all of my classes from the time I got my black belt in 2016, my seminars, all of that is on brandonmc.ninja. So you go www.brandonmc.ninja. I've got all
Hmm.
this archive of footage of me teaching and rolling and
Hmm.
commentary stuff all laid into that website. But I also now have like a mount course and a deep half guard course and a
Hmm.
triangle, truck, leg
Hmm.
locks. It's a long list, but it's all hiding there
Okay.
behind the paywall.
Awesome, bud. Well, I will. I heard the address, and you're gonna type it up on the chat,
Oh,
and I'll
yeah, I
make
can do
sure
that.
that the link will be accordingly. Uh, and last but not least, how's your body going? You feel good? You health? You're rolling consistently on a regular basis. What do you do on a day to day in that
Well,
regard?
right now I'm sitting out until mid-January because I went and got stem cells done a
Mm,
couple weeks back. So I'm trying to let those stem cells sit and do their magic. But on the 15th of January, I'm back at it. But yeah, I like to be on the mat as much as possible. I'm a dude who the best part of
that's
jujitsu
great.
to me is the rolling. So I'm trying to roll for at least
Yep,
these days. It's that my time is down, but I'm trying to roll for at least an hour, hour and a half every day, no matter what.
that's great formula. All right. Well, I'm glad you're taking care of your health. You look younger than last time I saw. You look like baby face, man. Look at you. You know, I
It's
like the
a
beard. I have to trim
got an
up a little
AI
bit.
filter or something.
Yeah. But listen, I can't thank you enough, Brandon, for your time. And I had great time. The little, I consider short time that we talked, because if left unchecked, this conversation will last a lot longer. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that when you come here, one of the things that I anticipate doing is just picking you and talking to you off the mats and just having a great time with you on and off the mats. All right. I can't wait. I look forward to. And is there anything else you want to say before we close this? Anything you
Uh,
want to add?
yeah, I have something to say. I love the Machado family. Jean-Jacques has always been so good to me. You've always gone out of your way to be kind to me. And I've learned so much jujitsu just from listening to you guys talk over the years. Even the little amount of time I've gotten to spend physically on the mat with you, I've learned so much from you and your brother Jean-Jacques, and
That's
I'm just
awesome.
very thankful. It's been a blessing. You guys have indirectly been a blessing to me and to my family and to all the students here. So thank you for that
Well,
legacy
I'm
that you built.
I'm happy you have a legacy on your own right. Any contribution that me or anybody in my family, Jean Jacques, Eddie Bravo, and everybody, that's what we're here to do. You know, it's all the purpose. And I cannot say how happy I am that you follow in the same footsteps and carry on the same the same path. You know what I'm saying? Kudos to you, Brandon. I'm gonna stop the recording button now, and I got some other questions off the record. Yeah,
All
then I'll
right.
let you go. Take care, but hold on. Don't go anywhere.